What's up, YouTube and sports fans? It's your boy Chris with Drop Balls Podcast back again. I know it's been a minute, but we just had the NFL draft, so I had to make sure to come on YouTube and give you all some quality content. And if you're watching today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below one time for your boy and ring that bell so that way when I drop a new video, you all get the notifications. And if you like listening to podcasts, please tune in to Drop Balls Podcast. It is available on every major podcast platform out there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, all of those. So be sure to go ahead and tune in for your boy. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all of the above. Just do it one time for your boy. And be sure to follow your boy on Twitter at DropBallsPod. I do follow back, and I do have commentary, game commentary, draft commentary, all of that. Just, on there talking my shit, whatever. All of that, all of the above on there. So go ahead and follow your boy on Twitter. Now, today, I want to take a look at the NFC West and how they drafted this year in the 2021 NFL draft. So what I'm going to do, because I know the GMs, they're not sending their players out, or they're not flying their players out on commercial flights anymore. It's COVID out there. It's all icky. So what I'm going to do, I'm sending my private jet to you all. So that way you all can come take a look at the NFC West for me. I'm already up here in Seattle. So I'm bringing you all to me. Y'all know I'm not a Seattle Seahawks fan. So it's all unbiased opinions and everything. I don't like either team in the NFC West. So everything's unbiased. But I'm going to fly you all out to me. I'm gonna send a private jet out, splurge a little bit, send the jet out, let y'all come tour the NFC West with me. Let's take a look at it. And right now, let's take a look at the Seattle Seahawks first and foremost. So Seattle this year, they didn't have a pick into the second round. They only had 3 picks this year. It was the second round, the fourth round, and I think the seventh. Or no, the sixth round, my bad. Second, fourth, and sixth. All even numbers. So this year, with their first pick in the second round, they took a receiver, Dwayne Eskridge. Now, Dwayne Eskridge, he is a speedy receiver. He's out of Western Michigan. He's 5'9", 190 pounds. So he's solid. He's pretty solid. I don't like the pick. I believe he would have been there. I believe he would have been there at that pick. And the reason I don't like the pick is not because they had other needs. I don't like the pick because they had other needs. So, like, when you look at the needs of the Seattle Seahawks, they need defensive line, they need offensive line, and I believe, what was the other one? Yeah, that's really what it was, or in corner. So yeah, when we look at the Seattle Seahawks, that's what they needed. And so with their pick in the second round, I'm bringing up the list because I want to make sure I let you all know. I don't want to be biased at anything. I want to let you all know what was out there that they could have gotten instead of a receiver. So they took the receiver with the 56 overall pick. And they should have went corner. They could have went offensive line. So let's look at the third round, because 56 overall pick, that's late second round. So let's look at the third round, and let's look at the talent that was still there. You had Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan, offensive tackle. You had Brady Christensen out of BYU, offensive tackle. You had Aaron Robinson, UCF cornerback. You had Benjamin St. Juste, Minnesota cornerback, 6'3", 202. That's right up Pete Carroll's wheelhouse. Who else did you have? You had Paulson Adebo out of Stanford, cornerback, 6'1", 198 pounds. He's taller. He's a lean corner. He has, average length or whatever, but another tall corner. Who I believe could have been a first round talent, but I believe it was injuries or something that plagued him. I don't remember what all it was. I know he played receiver in high school. And then let's keep going. Let's keep going. Offensive guard Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State. Spencer Brown, offensive tackle, Northern Iowa. So the talent was there. Elijah Molden out of Washington, cornerback. Afifu Melifonwu out of Syracuse, cornerback. Ambry Thomas out of Michigan, cornerback. Brandon Stevens out of SMU, cornerback. So there was a ton of other talent there where you didn't need to go receiver with your first pick. And actually, receiver isn't even a need. When you look at their receiver room is quite crowded. They still got Freddie Swain. I mean, people say, oh, we lost David Moore. You still got Freddie Swain. You got Tyler Lockett. You got DK. And there's some other receivers on that list. I don't remember the names right off the top of my head, but there's some other receivers on that list where you have now, I believe it's like 11 receivers on the roster. Granted, some may not make it. And maybe Eskridge, I mean, he's just another slot guy, really. And I mean, that's all he really is. So I just don't see the pick. I don't get it. But then, they backdoored that and they picked up Trey Brown out of Oklahoma with their fourth round pick, which I think was a solid pick. But now Trey Brown, he's shorter. He's a shorter corner. He's about 5'10", 185 pounds. But when you watch him at Oklahoma, he's physical. He played a lot on the outside. But the thing is now with the outside receivers being a lot bigger in the NFL than they were in college, his best spot might be that nickel back corner, that inside corner. So now, I mean, you could have got an outside corner, because let's look at Seattle's depth chart at corner. So at corner on Seattle's depth chart right now, not with Trey Brown, but you got Ahkello Witherspoon, cool. Trey Flowers. Are we really putting our faith in Trey Flowers? I don't think any Seattle fan would want to put their faith in Trey Flowers. They did get Pierre Desir. I believe he was a Colt. He was also a Jet. So he's had a interesting career. So I mean they did get him, but again, are these the corners you want to put your faith in? Ahkello Witherspoon, cool. He's 6'4", 4.3 speed, rangy corner. We saw some glimpses of him in San Francisco. Sometimes he had some lapses, but other times the man made some plays, jumped off the screen. So I'm cool with the Trey Brown pick just because he's going to be a solid corner in the slot. I think he'll be a solid corner in the slot position. Then they got Stone Forsythe, offensive tackle out of Florida in the 6th round. 6'8" tackle, 307 pounds. Cool. You addressed the offensive line need, but you didn't address guard. As I just rattled off to you, there were a bunch of other offensive tackles or offensive linemen they could have took in that 2nd round. You didn't address defensive end, defensive tackle. You didn't address tight end. I mean, they have Gerald Everett, but who do you have after that? Defensive line, yes, you have a bunch of players that you signed in the offseason, but what if they don't? What if they like? Now, granted, this wasn't a big defensive end heavy draft, so I kind of get not going defensive end, with any of your picks. I can see that. But you're going to need some depth at that defense on that defensive line. So I don't really know how I feel. I don't really like Seattle's draft, and it's mainly because of the first pick. I don't like going receiver there. So now let's take a look at the Arizona Cardinals. So now we go down to Arizona. And yes, I'm skipping around. Now Arizona had 7 draft picks this year. They had a 1st round, a 2nd round, 4th, 2 6th rounders, and 2 7th rounders. So with their first pick, they picked Zaven Collins in the 1st round with the 16th overall pick. Now, I like Zaven Collins. Think he's one of the best linebackers in this draft, if not the best linebacker in this draft. He's big. He'll probably replace Hassan Reddick on that outside, and we'll see what happens. I assume he's going to replace Hassan Reddick as that rushing linebacker. But let's just look at this. They needed a tight end, they needed a corner, a defensive end, a receiver, and a running back. They lost they got James Conner in free agency, but we'll see what happens with that. But they lost Patrick Peterson in free agency. He's no longer there. So I would think address corner first and then maybe go outside backer later on. But they addressed corner later on in the draft. Now they got Marco Wilson. They got Tay Gowan. Marco Wilson went in the 4th round. Tay Gowan went in the 6th. Now I like Tay Gowan's tape a little bit more than Marco Wilson's, but Marco Wilson is faster. I believe he ran like a 4.3 at his pro day. If you know me, I'm not a big fan of pro day 40s. They're unofficial. They're not laser time. So you probably add about 0.12, 0.16 to that 40. He's probably around 4.4. But Tay Gowan was better, but they're day 3 corners, so they're not gonna come in immediately and start. And so I think that was a problem, especially when Greg Newsome the second was still on the board. You still had Caleb Farley. I know he's a project because we don't know his back and everything, which I don't really think it was that serious. But Caleb Farley was still on the board. You still had some other corners that were on the board that you could have taken in the first round versus going outside backer. And it just seems like with Seattle and with Arizona, they missed on their first round picks. Well, they missed on needs with their first round picks. I'm not going to say they missed. They missed on to address needs. I'm all for the luxury item, the luxury pick. But just like when you go to the store, you don't go buy a luxury item, something you want over something you need. You go address what you need first. And if you got money left over, then you get that luxury item. If you got enough money left over, you get that luxury item. Treat the draft the same way. So they got Rondale Moore, second pick of the draft in the second round. Their second pick of the draft, which was in the second round. They got Rondale Moore, and I think Rondale Moore is going to be an explosive receiver for them. He's only like 5'7", but he's 181 pounds out of Purdue. Dude is explosive. He had like a 44-inch 41 inch, somewhere between 41 and 44-inch vertical. He's just explosive. Bro is explosive, and he's going to help in the return game as well. And he's fast. He squats 600 pounds. Like, dude is hella explosive. So I think that was a good pickup for them. And it was value. It was in the second round. So and they addressed a need in the first. Well, they addressed something in the first round, and not necessarily a need, but they addressed something in the first round. But the receiver was a need for them. Receiver wasn't a need for Seattle Seahawks. That's the difference in the picks. And I think honestly, if they waited to the 4th, 6th round, they could have got Dwayne Eskridge. But hey, no, that's just me. They got Victor DeMukage. I can't say his last name. He went to Duke, defensive end. So they got him in the draft as well. In the 6th round, James Wiggins, Cincinnati safety. They got him in the 7th, and Michael Minette, Penn State guard or center, in the 7th round as well. So now let's go to LA. Let's go to the Los Angeles Rams. We head into California with it. Now, Los Angeles had like 10 draft picks this year. They had a 2nd, they had a 3rd, they had 3 in the 4th, they had a 5th, and 3 in the 7th. So they had 9 draft picks this year. And I think they did very solid. They did pretty solid. Los Angeles addressed a lot of stuff that they didn't get a safety. They needed that. They didn't get an offensive tackle. They needed that. They didn't get a center. But they addressed some other needs on defense in particular. But they also took a wide receiver with their first pick when they didn't really need a wide receiver. They got Tutu Atwell in the 2nd round out of Louisville. Now he's a little bit smaller. Bro, 5'9", 155 pounds. So he's going to, with all these small receivers, they will help in the return game. I will say that. They will help in the return game, which has been an issue for some of the teams. But it was just like Arizona picked a small receiver, so everybody in the NFC West had to go, hold my beer. Let me get the smallest receiver I can get. And the Rams got the smallest one they could get at 155 pounds. He's dynamic. I mean, he is explosive. He had a position rank of 7 in the wide receiver group. I don't think he's really ranked that. I mean, he had a pretty good college career at Louisville, but once again, he's 155 pounds and 5'9". And he's going to have to put on a little bit of weight. 3rd round, they went Ernest Jones, South Carolina inside backer, which they needed. He's going to push for a starting backer position. He's going to push to become a starting backer for the LA Rams, which I think he'll be a solid backer for them. Bobby Brown III, defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. He will be a rotational player, and he'll get some burn as well. Robert Rochelle, cornerback out of Central Arkansas. Now, a lot of people might have passed on him just because he played at Central Arkansas. It's a smaller school, but they got a solid corner. He's long ass arms, 6 foot, 193 pounds. And he has quick feet and excellent top end speed. So I think he's going to be pretty solid for them. Now, with their other 4th rounder, they got Jacob Harris, UCF wide receiver, who I believe is like 6'5" or something like that. Now, he didn't play a lot of football. He was a soccer player, but I believe he had in 2019, He had like 18 yards a catch and like 8 touchdowns. So he may turn into a solid option for them, especially someone to replace Josh Reynolds, since Josh Reynolds signed with the Tennessee Titans this offseason. They signed Ernest Brown the fourth, defensive end out of Northwestern in the fifth, or drafted him, not signed him. Jake Funk, running back out of Maryland in the 7th round. Another 6'3" receiver, Ben Storinic. I believe that's how you say his last name, out of Notre Dame. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. He was pretty solid in Notre Dame. I mean, consistency was an issue, but overall pretty solid. And then Chris Garrett out of Concordia St. Paul, outside backer in the 7th round as well. So that was their picks. Now let's go to the last team in the NFC West, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. If I can find their draft picks on this board. Just bear with me a second. All right, here we go. So San Francisco traded up. They traded the Miami Dolphins for the 3rd overall pick. This happened about March 26th. They traded up to get a quarterback, which we all knew was going to be a quarterback. It was only speculation on what quarterback that was going to be. Me personally, I thought it was Mac Jones. I was wrong. It was another quarterback that only played about 16 games in his college career, and that was Trey Lance. Amazing pick. It's a tremendous pick. I believe they picked the right quarterback. Trey Lance ran a pro-style system at North Dakota State. But with Trey Lance, what you get is you get a quarterback that can throw the ball. He can also run the ball. So now the offense isn't playing 10 versus 11. It's 11 versus 11 every game. Because you have to account for Trey Lance. You got to account for his legs. And he can throw the ball. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword. And like I said, he played in the pro-style offense, so he was a pocket passer in that offense. But when he needed to, he avoided pressure, used his legs, and got downfield. So I think it was a great trade-up. He won a national championship at the D1 AA ranks. So, I mean, and he never threw an interception. So it's like can you really knock his game? Yes, he played lesser competition, but how did he look when he was playing against that lesser competition? Did he look like he belonged there? No, he didn't. He looked like he should have been playing D1 single A ball, Power 5 conference. That's how he looked when he was playing for North Dakota State. Now, with their second pick in the draft, they got an offensive guard, Aaron Banks out of Notre Dame. I believe that was solid. Then with the 3rd round pick, they got Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. Now, Trey Sermon missed the last game against, who was it, Alabama? Yeah. Trey Sermon missed the last game against Alabama. He got hurt on the first play. He ran the ball, got tackled, separated his SC joint or something like that, and couldn't play. I mean, it wasn't that serious, though. And he really hasn't had that many injuries. He strained his patella and an ankle sprain, or sprained his patella and an ankle sprain. So he hasn't had really any serious injuries, but he's a solid running back. And you get him in a running back room where it's already pretty crowded because they got Wayne Gallman. They still have Wilson Jr. They still have Mostert. But you get him in a running back room where you already know they like to run running back by committee. We saw that with Tevin Coleman. We saw that with Mostert. We saw that with the other running back that they had. I forget his name. But I think that was a solid pickup. He has great contact, great balance on contact. He doesn't have the burners, the pull away speed, but he's a solid running back. He's not going to go down on the first hit. Like I said, he has tremendous balance, and he's smart with the ball in his hands. He can make some moves and get upfield. Now, they get Ambry Thomas, the cornerback out of Michigan, in the 3rd round. He's probably going to come in and see some burn there in San Francisco. They get Jalen Moore, offensive guard out of Western Michigan, in the 5th round. Dio Modor Lenore, cornerback out of Oregon. He'll probably play some special teams. Then Talanoa Hufanga. I'm probably butchering the hell out of these names, but safety out of USC, got him in the 5th round. Probably play some special teams as well. And Elijah Mitchell, which is another running back out of Louisiana Lafayette. And I'm pretty sure he'll be used as a return man or something of that nature. But yeah, this was the NFC West draft. Like this is what they drafted. Now, with this draft, honestly, my winners, in my opinion, And let me see. Give me a second. Just give me a second. So my opinion, I believe San Francisco had, or not San Francisco, my bad. The Rams, and I know this may be shocking to some of you all. I believe the Rams had the best draft out of the NFC West teams. So, like I said, they had about 9 picks. They addressed a lot. The Rams addressed a lot, and they were quality picks. They weren't just out there best available. You know, they didn't do that. They made quality picks at the picks they had. They didn't have a first rounder, but they came in, they got a receiver. I don't really like the receiver pick, but it was a need for them. They addressed that need. And, I mean, with Matt Stafford in his arm, you got Deshaun Jackson, you got Tutu Atwell. They're going to probably stretch the field. So I could see that. I could see that being an issue. They got a linebacker that'll come in and start. They have a defensive tackle that's going to come in and get some rotation. They got a cornerback that's probably going to start. So they came in and got some quality players. Next after that, so with San Francisco, or not with San Francisco, with the Rams, I give them a B+. Now, the next team was San Francisco. They got their guy at quarterback, but did they really address everything else they needed? They got an offensive guard, they got a safety, but they took a safety very late. So, I mean, they did address some needs, but to me, they didn't get everything that they needed. They got some luxury pieces in there, but they didn't get everything that they needed. And so for that, I give them a B-. Then you got not Carolina, my bad. You got Cardinals. You got the Cardinals. I give them a B-. I think they had a pretty solid draft, but I give them a B-. And then with Seattle, I don't like the first pick. I don't think they did enough to address the needs. It's like, hey, Russ said he needs help. Okay, cool. Let's go draft the receiver. That wasn't a need. It wasn't a necessity. Like I said, when you go to the grocery store or, you know, the store, wherever you go buy the stuff that you need first. And you calculate that, at least I do. You know, me trying to be fiscally responsible. At least I do. But I go get the stuff I need first. And if I have some money left over that'll cover a warrant, okay, cool. I'm going to get that warrant too. But Seattle, they did it the opposite way. It was like, oh, I want that. All right, I'm going to take it. I'll take care of the needs, you know, with the other 2 draft picks. I mean, did they really take care of the needs? Trey Brown, he's a slot corner. They didn't take care of the corner on the outside. Trey Flowers is not a starter. I'm sorry. He's not a starter, and they didn't take care of that position. They don't have a number 1 corner on their roster. Ahkello Witherspoon could possibly be one. It's just a matter of him stop making the lapses in judgment, the lapses in coverage, which he makes a lot of. So he could be a number 1 corner. He just has to clean up the issues. Trey Flowers will never be a number 1 corner. He's had like 3 or 4 years to figure it out, and he still ain't figured it out. We constantly see him get burnt. We constantly see him get hit with interference, holding, all types of shit. So I don't like the pick, and for that, Seattle gets a C. They get a C. They didn't address everything they needed to in this draft. Even with the 3 picks, they could have got some quality picks, and they didn't get quality picks, in my opinion. If you're an NFC West fan, if you have a team in the NFC West that you follow, that you like, whatever, let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Let me know how you think your team did in the NFL draft this year, and just, you know, even in the offseason. Let me know. But be sure to follow your boy on Twitter at DropBallsPod. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, Drop Balls Podcast, every major podcast platform. We'll drop an episode this Tuesday. But until next time, y'all be easy. Peace.